Hey guys, it's Paradise, and if you've been looking forward to playing Monster Hunter Wilds, then the recent Monster Hunter Wilds stream had the best news for you. Next week we're of course getting an open beta, which will be open early for PlayStation Plus, and then more platforms will be able to join in the fun later on. However, it's easy to get lost in all of that hype, but there was still a ton of awesome information revealed in the stream to go alongside it. We got information on new monsters, places, and mechanics, so let's jump right into it as there is a lot to go through. The first thing to talk about is the new locale that was revealed, which is the Oil Well Basin. We actually love it as it's very unique compared to some of the other areas we have in the game. The official description of the area says it's a volcanic region where oil wells and raging fires burn, and it's home to unique creatures that have adapted to its harsh environment. We don't currently have any detailed information on the inclemency state in this region, which might be called the Fire Spring, but we know from the pictures on the website that the area will transition between an oily, burning, and rusty state. As with all the areas, different monsters will be available in different states, and we know that the apexes come during the most harsh conditions. The area looks really cool and is filled with interesting sights to behold, with things like formations of spewing gas and bats flying through the cave, and one of the clips actually showed us some endemic life that inhabits this area. One of them looks kind of like a baggy, while the other looks more like a lizard. So both the trailer and just the world in Wilds is brimming with these intricate details, making it look super awesome. Now you might be interested to know that because the area is quite harsh, it seems that Capcom have balanced this out with various collectible items that we can use to get a buff. We know that each area contains settlements established by the people that call that environment home for generations. For the Oil Basin, this is the people of Azuz. The village is formed around its large forge, and the forge itself is called the Everforge, and the people seem to be like a craftsman tribe. We can see that the village is filled with tons of natural resources like minerals from people mining, and it seems that the people of Azuz will have an impact on the state of the world, and there's various hints at what is happening in the story at this point in the game throughout the trailer. We can see in the village the people are attempting to ignite the forge in some type of celebration, and something goes wrong where the forge gets hotter than expected. This causes some effects in the area, such as more aggressive monsters appearing and lava spewing out into the environment. We can't wait to find out exactly what happened here and what other story developments they have in store for us. We don't currently know if the inclemency state is timed to the village, and they have to manually trigger it by turning on the forge, but that would be a cool thing to mix up the gameplay. Another thing that seems relevant to the story is this girl that is highlighted a number of times during the trailer, so she could be a key part of the story in some way. She's referred to as a firebrand, which could be the name for the town's blacksmith or the craft people, as it seems that Gemma in the trailer takes particular interest with her. And that would make sense as Gemma is of course a fellow smith. We feel like this could be some type of endgame mechanic where you're able to craft special weapons using this massive forge, but we will have to wait and see what's in store in the full game. Now of course in the stream we also got to see some new monsters, and in fact we got to see 3, all of which are brand new to the series and frankly look amazing. The first of which is the Rompopolo. This monster already looks to be a fan favorite for us despite how odd looking it is. In its first appearance in the trailer, you can see it come out of the oil, and this hints at it being able to manipulate the oil in the basin. Throughout the gameplay though, we can see it doing various attacks that spew gas after inflating itself. You can see that it will be able to release the gas while in the oil, causing various explosions too. The official description gives us a little insight into this monster, and it tells us its classification. It's actually a brute wyvern that inhabits areas of deep oil silt. Meanwhile, on the official Monster Hunter Twitter, we got even more information about the monster's mechanics, and it says Rompopolo is a bulbous brute wyvern found lurking in areas of deep oil silt within the Oil Well Basin. Watch your step when facing this monster, lest you fall foul of its ability to inject gas from the tip of its tail into the surrounding oil silt for explosive results. Something that we have been tracking and monitoring in various videos though is the armor sets from the weapon reveals. We've been trying to find matches for the armor sets that don't have a monster at the moment, and it seems like this monster is a good match for the hammer set, as it matches the look of this monster with its plague armor theme and of course that beak on it. so it seems that Capcom have been pacing us with the reveals of these monsters and those armor sets, as the Scarlet Forest gave us the Charge Blade monster, which was Lala Barina, while the Oil Basin had the Hammer armor set, so we're guessing that the Switch Axe armor set will be shown in the next area reveal. Now, while it is still speculation, we are getting more confident that this is going to be some type of ice scorpion that takes inspiration from the frontier monster Akora Vashimu, or it could just be some type of crab or insectoid. Now, to be honest, everything about this new monster is pretty funky, so we can see why people have been drawn to it, as it's kind of like a walking meme at the moment, which with a funny name like Rompopolo and its weird visuals, it all sort of works together. And next we had the reveal of the Jaron, which is another amazing looking monster with a great design. Capcom must have looked at some of the Wild Hearts monsters and probably took some inspiration, because if you look at this monster and the Chemetries, they do have a bit of similarity to those Wild Hearts monsters. This really reminds us of the Lavaback in terms of its style and even mechanics, but they have had this style of monster in Monster Hunter before, as if we look very closely back to Monster Hunter Frontier, it had a monster called Vol'jang, which is also a flaming monkey that could set itself on fire. User Mogaru_Z4N on Reddit has also made this image that just shows how close it is in comparison to Rajang. However, the official information that we have for this monster says it's a fanged beast characterized by the flame-like protrusions covering its back, while the Twitter post said it's a fiery and agile fanged beast that can ignite the shell on its back through friction, taking the heat of battle to the next level of intensity. Funnily enough, this sounds very similar to the wiki description of Vol'jang because it has a lot of similarities. Listen to this. Its flint-like build allows it to drag parts of itself along the ground, setting itself alight to add an extra hot punch to its attacks. While enraged, in addition to a few extra attacks, many of its attacks have a fiery effect, such as its punches leaving a small AoE blast radius with each swing. It's pretty intriguing that they wouldn't just bring back Vol'jang, but introduce something that is mechanically similar. In the trailer, we got to see various attacks of the monster, and this thing is looking pretty menacing. It's able to jump up and climb on its environment, throwing rocks as well, and we even got a short glimpse of a clash attack with the monster. But nothing shows just how menacing this monster is more than the turf war between it and the Rompopolo. The Ajaricon grabs Rompopolo out of nowhere and gives it a sort of bear hug that causes it to spew gas. The whole animation looks pretty cool, and we can't wait to see all the various different turf wars between the monsters in the full game. And then lastly, for the monsters, they revealed another new mysterious monster. Just like Arkveld, this one doesn't have a classification, but unlike Arkveld, it is branded as an apex monster. It is the apex of the oil well basin, and it looks nuts. Currently, it's referred to as the Black Flame, which we will probably learn more about its true name as the story unfolds. I really don't think many people thought we would get a monster like this revealed, and it looks kind of like an octopus or cephalopod type monster. Just like many others, our first thought when seeing this thing is how close it looks to Nikakos. If you look at the concept for Nikakos, it has a very close resemblance to it, as you can see here. The monster even has glowing blue parts as well, and maybe this is like a cousin or something to Nikakos, and maybe all of these monsters are mutant versions of old monsters. Now, this isn't the first time that Capcom have repurposed old concept art into a new monster. As you can see, this old concept art for Seregios was basically used to make Nergigante. For those that aren't familiar with Nikakos, it's an elder dragon from Monster Hunter Generations. It's a massive cephalopod-like monster that could cover itself in bones for armor that you would have to break through to deal damage. This was basically one of the bosses of Generations, and it was very cool, and we have pretty fond memories of fighting it. It's a very unique fight. Now, we already know that hunted monsters will eventually decompose into bones within the actual world, and with this monster being around in the game, the theories can get kind of wild. What if this monster can then use those bones, if there's any nearby, to assemble something that looks like Nikakos even more? This is just a theory, but it's definitely possible since it's covered in that sticky oil substance. Another really notable feature about this monster is that it's able to spew flames. You can literally see it cooking the hunter when it grabs them, and it seems that just like a Jaracon, this monster can also set itself alight when enraged. You can see there's a tiny hole where the monster spews the fire out from. It's kind of like the monster is mixing its oil together with the fire to set it ablaze. Also, when it first showed up, it had 2 Arekkz with it, and we know it's the apex of the oil basin, so it'll be interesting to see if you can get attacked by all of them when this goes down. So it was really cool to see this, and it is still quite mysterious, just like Arekkz. And talking about Arekkz, just over the last few days we got another image that shows what could be the back of the box art of the game. This isn't confirmed, so it could just be some Photoshop trickery, but it does have a new image of what looks like Arekkz, which is very interesting to see. In this, we can see a better look at Arekkz in different conditions, and this is kind of adding to the crackpot theory that many of the monsters in Wilds are sort of related to some of the base monsters that we already have in Monster Hunter. Now, this trailer was, of course, pretty awesome just by itself, but it's crazy that this wasn't even the Comic-Con trailer that people saw, so we haven't even seen things like Rathalos or the Yankutku gameplay yet, which was teased in that behind closed doors demo. Now, before we move over to the next topic, we have to talk about something that the Japanese community seem to be going nuts over, which is the fact that the oil well basin being in the game would be the perfect setup for another returning fan favorite monster, the oily elder dragon Gogmazios. This is a monster that was first introduced in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, and one of its abilities is to shoot laser-like beams of superheated oil at attackers, so maybe it's time for this guy to make a return. And there's even more noticeable things from the trailer to highlight, including what looks like a lance weapon that basically looks like a big syringe. Maybe this comes from Rompopolo, as that would be in keeping with the Plague Doctor theme, and the armor the hunter is wearing also looks like Rompopolo's armor, and overall it's just a cool design as a syringe. Also, around the oil well basin, there's various environmental traps that can be triggered to damage and stagger monsters. And we will say the traps that we've seen so far look really cool, and we hope there'll be even more epic ones like there was in Monster Hunter World. We also got to see what looks like the female Chematrice armor set, as well as the sword and shield, which you can see in this clip with the trap, so that's looking pretty cool too. And perhaps the most hype reveal out of this whole thing was the playable open beta test, which is available across all platforms, with 2 separate dates, an early access beta for PlayStation Plus, and then another one for regular PlayStation, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. We've also found out that the beta will be online only, and that the size of it will be 29 gigabytes, so make sure you free up some space to get ready. Another amazing detail about the beta is that it will support crossplay, meaning you can play with your fellow hunters regardless of platform. We know that this feature will be in the full game, but it's awesome they made it work for the demo too. The dates are as follows. The early access play for PlayStation Plus is Tuesday the 29th of October at 3 AM GMT till Thursday the 31st of October at 2:59 AM GMT. Meanwhile, the non-exclusive open beta is on Friday the 1st of November at 3 AM GMT and goes on until Monday the 4th of November at 2:59 AM GMT. For the content of the demo itself, you'll be happy to hear that the game has the full version of the character creator available. This means you can make your Hunter and Palico with every option and slider in the full release, and you can port this over to the full release, so any time used in the character creator isn't wasted, and you can get into the full game even quicker at launch. Outside of this, there's 2 hunts available, and these are the same 2 publicly playable hunts that were at most conventions and Comic-Cons, including what we played at Gamescom. There's the story trial with a Chatacabra, and the second hunt is the Alpha Deshagma hunt, which is a bit more open and explorative. It's good to know you can pre-download the demo a day before either of its live dates, both for the PlayStation Plus early version and the other version. On top of this, there are some rewards you can get in the full game for playing. The first is the really cute open beta test bonus pendant, which I just love the look of and confirms the return of pendants. There's also the open beta test bonus item pack that you get, which includes 10 mega potions, 5 rations, 5 life powder, 2 max potions, 2 herbal medicine, 2 null berries, and 5 armor spheres. So there you have it, all of the details from this latest stream for Monster Hunter Wilds, and wasn't there a lot to go through. Make sure you're subscribed below for more videos on Monster Hunter Wilds and your favorite games that we have for you coming very, very soon.